I'm Stacey Marie Ishmael, managing editor of crypto for Bloomberg News. And this is Bloomberg Crypto, a daily Bloomberg iHeart podcast. It's Monday, June 13th. Have you heard the one about the crypto investor who got hacked and lost all their Bitcoin? It's true. Cryptocurrency spam, hacks, and fraud are all on the rise. That means there's an urgent need to think about the security risks to these often valuable digital investments. Today, I speak with Bloomberg reporter Hannah Miller about the nature and scope of these hacks. And I talk to Ronghui Gu, a professor and a CEO of a security firm, about how to avoid them. Hannah, hi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
I am really, really glad you're able to come on the show because you have been covering, well, in addition to covering everything that you're covering, one of your recent stories was all about how social media hacks are particularly affecting people who have invested in crypto or who are thinking about investing in crypto. People may have heard about folks losing their Bored Apes because they clicked on a spammy link on Instagram. Can you just talk a little bit about what it is going on out in this Wild West world?
Yeah, no, there's obviously a lot going on. I think crypto has really been entangled with scams for a very long time. And we've really seen an upswing recently in people using social media as a tool to rip off crypto investors. And a lot of that comes down to, people posting malicious links.
Click here, and all your wildest dreams will come true.
Spam bots, spreading those links, and, people really not being aware of the risks that they're taking when, they're on social media, looking at crypto projects, interacting with different accounts. So it's a pretty interesting phenomenon and something that the industry really has been grappling with.
What does that experience look like? I am, a person on Twitter, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I see somebody being like, hey, click here to get a free Bored Ape. I think that sounds amazing, given that Bored Apes are selling for hundreds of thousands of dollars. What are the mechanics of how these scams work?
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to mimicry. So you might be interacting with an account that looks like it comes from an official source. Maybe they have a handle that's really similar to, the name of an actual company, or they seem to have, tweets that show legitimate activity in the space. And clicking on that link might lead you to a website that even looks like the official website for an NFT collection or a startup. Mm-hmm. And, you're asked to link your wallet, and that just opens you up to, having NFTs stolen from you, which was the case with the, Bored Ape hack that we saw recently.
So I'm a person who, I click on this link. I don't realize that it's not official. I hand over my credentials, and then some nefarious person on the other end is like, great, we now own all of your stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it can happen very quickly. And again, people think that they're going into something that's legitimate. They think that they're, maybe going to be a part of an NFT drop or a crypto giveaway, and they're excited, and they might not pay attention to signs that this isn't a legitimate operation.
I'm so glad that you said there's two things in there that are so important, right? The not paying attention and the being excited part. Because, when I've studied and reported on misinformation and disinformation and why people fall for things online, it's often because you're in an emotional state that makes you particularly susceptible to making a bad decision. And in this case, it sounds like, these scammers, these hackers, they're preying on that not wanting to miss out on a deal instinct or just the thrill of being invited to participate to something.
Let crazy light up your life with prices that are insane.
Yeah, that's exactly what's happening here. People get excited. They, jump on board. And in some cases, too, it's the actual account belonging to the startup or the NFT collection, which adds another layer of deception.
Whoa, okay. So I might actually be looking at a legitimate Twitter account or Instagram, but they have been hacked. And then, so when I click on those links, even though I think I'm doing the right thing because I check to see that, okay, this is the verified account, this looks legit, turns out it wasn't legit after all.
Yes, that's exactly what happened with the Bored Ape hack. It was their official Instagram account that was compromised. We don't really know the details of how that happened. A lot of people think it's because of social engineering, that, an account holder for the Bored Ape Yacht Club Instagram handle was somehow manipulated into, giving access. But yeah, this was the official Bored Ape Yacht Club account, and it linked to a website modeled off of the Bored Ape Yacht Club website. So really, there was just an extra level of trickery here.
So a high level of sophistication is what we're dealing with.
Correct.
Given that, it seems to me a little bit unfair for folks to be like, well, you should just pay more attention to the internet and not click on any links. If people are trying to do the right thing and they're still getting scammed, what are the big social media companies doing about this? What are the big crypto companies doing about this? Because that does seem to be a direction that, systemic intervention sounds like it's what's needed here.
Yeah, no, the big tech companies do have options here, encouraging users to do things like two-factor authentication to secure their accounts, requiring them to have it secured both via email and phone number. That's something that can help increase security. There are also, options like using AI to clean out spam bots that might be spreading these scammy links. Mm-hmm. And these tools for filtering out spam bots, those also come at a cost to the social media company because it lowers their user count, which isn't a good look.
So basically by reducing spam activity, you reduce overall engagement. And there's some analysts looking at metrics and being like, why are your numbers down?
Exactly. And for a company that's reporting those things in earnings, yeah, it's not a good look. And with these user accounts, there are also specific policies that prevent spam accounts being in place. Twitter requires bot accounts to be identified as bot accounts. They have reporting tools that users can, put in concerns about suspicious activity that they see on the platforms. So, there are steps that they can take. And as for crypto companies, it's very interesting. A lot of these companies are growing very quickly. They're very young. And they might be more interested in hiring, engineers, developers, people who can help them build out the product. And where they're cutting corners is cybersecurity. And part of what, a recommendation that I've heard is that they should actually focus on hiring cybersecurity specialists early on, especially those who specialize in blockchain, and, investing in that part of their business. And that could help prevent scams down the line. They can also do things like offer bug bounties. So if a white hat hacker sees some sort of vulnerability in their code that could be used to scam users, they can work with the white hat hacker and actually reward them for finding this flaw and, kind of advertise that to get more white hat hackers on board.
And the idea of a white hat hacker, these are the good ones. These are the ones who are not trying to steal money from people. They're trying to stop people from having money stolen from them.
Exactly. They're using their expertise to find flaws in, in the security of different platforms. And they will alert teams as to, what they can do to patch these areas.
Other than, while we wait for the big tech companies to put these things in place, and other than people just not clicking any links on the internet ever, if you had one piece of advice for folks who were worried about these kinds of scams, what would it be?
Pay attention, see whether this is actually a legitimate operation. Check the Twitter handle, see if it's verified. Really, a lot of these startups too, they're pretty easy to reach out to, on Telegram or Discord or whatever. Mm-hmm. Do your homework essentially and try to find out whether this is a legitimate announcement. And really just, I don't recommend connecting your wallet to anything unless you're 100% sure that this is a real thing, a real legitimate operation.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Hannah. You can find more of Hannah's reporting on the Bloomberg terminal, of course, on Bloomberg.com and on Twitter at HGMiller29. We'll be right back. So what can we do about these hacks, and how can people protect their digital assets in an increasingly decentralized environment? Ronghui Gu is the chief executive officer of a blockchain security firm called CertiK and an assistant professor at computer science at Columbia University. Professor Gu, what I'm hearing from you is we're dealing with a couple of things at once. We're dealing with more of these hacks. We're dealing with more sophistication in terms of these hacks, a bigger range of types of people who are being targeted. And you work with different firms and companies to help them protect themselves and their users from these kinds of exposures. What does that look like in practice?
You know, Web3 and Web2 are quite different. Web3 apps are built on top of blockchain, which can be viewed as a world computer that no one can stop. So if after the deployment, even if people have identified malicious transactions or code vulnerabilities in their programs, it's very hard to make changes or add patches. So that's why we have to make sure that the software, all these applications are as secure as possible before the deployment.
And on kind of the individual consumer side, I know like one of the things that you have alluded to, and Hannah quoted you on this in her story, is around the idea of falling for what's called, social engineering. How do you help people not fall for social engineering? So where somebody is manipulated into revealing credentials?
Yes, it's a very good question. How to protect your accounts, your asset from social engineering? One tip is that for all these accounts, your wallet accounts or the social media accounts, it should be associated with, let's say, the phones or email addresses that are not publicly available for other people.
So that means if somebody calls you on that, it's suspicious because nobody should have it.
Yes.
Got it.
Yeah.
What do you think the responsibilities are of, these decentralized companies that are coming up, or even the Web 2 ones that are playing in crypto in terms of user protection?
Yeah, definitely their responsibility is to making sure their system, their applications are as secure as possible. But as I mentioned, Web3 is quite different from Web2 company. Many Web2 cyber defense techniques just can't be applied directly to this new domain due to the challenges that I mentioned, that you can't add patches, right? You can't make changes after the deployment. So they should make sure that their software are secure, are free of vulnerabilities before deployment, which is not a practice that will be followed by Web2 companies, but they have to do it in Web3.
Well, thank you very much for joining us, Professor Gu. Really appreciate you taking the time.
Okay. Yeah, many thanks.
On the next episode of Bloomberg Crypto, have you ever heard the saying, everything's bigger in Texas? The same applies to mining Bitcoin in the state. The state of Texas is flush with Bitcoin miners, including the city of Fort Worth, that started a small mining operation out of its city hall. Tomorrow, I'll talk with Bloomberg reporter Mike Smith about what makes the state so attractive to crypto enthusiasts. And you'll hear from Lee Bratcher, head of the Texas Blockchain Council, who will share more about that partnership with the city of Fort Worth. I'm Stacey Marie Ishmael, and this is Bloomberg Crypto, a daily podcast from Bloomberg and iHeartRadio. For more shows from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Email your questions, comments, or suggestions to crypto@bloomberg.net. Follow us on Twitter, we're @crypto. The supervising producer and editor of this episode is Vicky Vergalina. Desta Wonderad is our engineer. Original music by Leo Sidran. Bloomberg's head of podcasts is Francesca Levy.